Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday. This is the metal markets. My voice is a bit weird. All right, so the bonds had a pretty good evening. And I am looking at some copper trades here around this gamma wall. So let's have a look at the daily chart. So copper is in an interesting area. We're kind of tagging this whole daily supply here. So we had a good move away from that area. Now intraday we're back to the gamma wall. And in my opinion, and that's all it is, it's just my opinion, this could be a decent area for another short. Now, if that hypothesis completely breaks down, so be it. But we do have the Asia high. Exactly where we started. And now we're tagging that. So usually around about this time of the day, you do have the metals reversing. And if I seem a little bit slower, I do apologize. I've been having like a little bit of pain happening, so I don't really know what that's all about. So yeah, I just feel a little bit bleh today. So let's see what the bots are doing. It's not a pair. We don't trade forex here. We trade futures. So this is copper futures. Copper futures. And in fact, most of this P&L overnight was done because of a copper trade and then also an Asia exhaustion on micro gold as well. All right, let's see who's in chat. 7 Hebrew Shark says morning metalheads. Good morning. Simcha, Sveto. Rob, Gary, is it Gary or Jerry? I asked you this last time and I don't think I got an answer. Is it Gary? Is it Jerry? Because I don't want to mispronounce your name, obviously, so yeah. Ava is there, Thomas, Big Lou, Vartang, One Abu Fitness, Silver Shade Soul, Alexander, Bass, always good to see you, Bass, man. Always good. Ava, Trading Nickels. All right, so the usual suspects. That's all very, very good. Now let me see what the output for one of the bots is saying, because I know it latched on to one of them. Oh yeah, sweep candidate. Okay. Volume on the one that popped above the Asia high. So let's just see whether it's gonna actually kick something off, because this is what it's saying right now. This is what it looks like, right? Very interesting. Where it's like a whole bunch of text and it's like, what is this happening? Yeah, so there was a candidate that obviously runs the same strategy that I normally run, but it just does it automatically. So we had a decent amount of volume on this sweep that happened just before I came on. And now it's counting because it needs one of the candles to close back inside the range. If we're still opening outside of the range, that's not really happening. Now, some of these other ones, no, the ones earlier, because I don't have them all switched on all the time, right? So I kind of pick and choose. And there was another one earlier. So I do believe that some of them are already running, which is what you're seeing there. But let's see if we can get one to actually enter while I'm on the stream, because I think that would be quite interesting. But yeah, so this is what it looks like. Very, very interesting, right? It's like sweep candidate ledged up, sweep abandoned, sweep waiting. And that's also how you should be doing your own strategies as well. We may get a little bit of help from gold, because gold is reversing, so that's good. It's just, to me, this copper looks much better from a whole bunch of other conditions. We just need one of them to close. Jerry with a G. Okay, Jerry, I get it. Got it. I will remember that. Do I stream daily? No, only twice a week. I'm way too busy to stream daily. Good morning from New Zealand, which is 11 p.m. here. Wow. Thank you for joining me so late, man. It's like we're everywhere, aren't we? So we have people from the States, and it's like really early morning there. We have Europeans, so that's kind of midday here. And now we have New Zealand as well. It's the evening. Isn't that fascinating? That fascinates me. I don't know why, but it's just so strange that we can all just come together because of this amazing medium of the internet. All right, so copper is slower than gold. Gold is a little bit bonkers, as we know. So, you know, gold like moves around by about 200 to 400 ticks per every sort of 30-minute bars. So that's insane. But we may get a little bit of information once gold hits this gamma flip here. So it's trying to get into a positive gamma on gold. For me, copper is so much less dramatic, and it's a lot more smooth. Is it gonna kick off the trade? Let me see what's going on. If it doesn't kick it off, I will, because this looks alright. Alright, maybe this this next 5-minute bar, because it still needs to close inside it. Where is my candle timer? Where is my candle timer? There it is. Can we get a tick? Can we get a tick so we can start counting down? Once it, again, you can see how much slower this one is. There it is. Okay. It took forever to actually get a tick. Ooh, hold on. We've got something happening on MGC as well. Even though technically nothing should be happening there. I mean, it does have sort of like sweeps and stuff, but it's kind of latching. So what is going on with copper? You know what? Because this looks good to me, and you know, the bots need a very kind of particular thing for them to kick off. But me as a human, I will deem that this is actually alright, because we have several things happening here. So let me explain. We have this big gamma wall, obviously at 650. We also have the Asia high that was created overnight. And we just exceeded the average session range for London. We do have the rotation up into the special situation play, but the size of the profile that preceded that move, I would be thinking, because of the size of the move that we're probably done for now. And we have a little bit of a reversal here. Let me just see what bookmap is doing. I mean, delta is falling, right? Delta is falling. We moved away from 650. Let's just try this manually, right? So, and let's just move the target here. So let's see if this follows through. And I am going to switch off the MGC bots because I don't want them trading anymore. Because they've done enough. They worked very hard. So let's switch these off. Okay. And now we just have the copper bots running. And let's see if this guy can actually bring us a little bit of a reversal, but we're not going to stay on a 5-minute chart. Because there's no need to stare at low time frames once you've obtained the entry. So I'm looking for this 650 to ultimately be some kind of a resistance that I would like to see us exit the value area that we try to accept. But whenever you have a very large level in the options chain cutting into the value area and you see a value acceptance, I'm always a little bit skeptical about those special situation plays because they're technically very sketchy, and it means that a lot of hedging potential is probably going to transpire in and around the gamma wall. So that's why this would be a very subpar value acceptance play. Very subpar. So yeah, let's see if we can rotate. Nothing else for us to do there. We made a decision. Just gonna go back to chat. Ignatius is hello from Canary Islands. Good morning from Kentucky. JK window cleaning. Maui man. Jerry says California. HFT says good morning Dia. Passed 3 combines yesterday. Very well done. I wish I had a soundboard for you. In fact, I should probably sort that out as a former musician. But yeah, great. Onwards and upwards. Just take it slow for at least for like a couple of days, right? Pizza says 11k PNL. Well, yes, yeah, technically 12 realized, but we'll see. We'll see. The day is still young, and this is not one account. This is 4 Tradeifys, a couple of trade days, and 3 apexes. So it's multiple of accounts. So basically it's about 1,200 per account for now. But yeah, it's just aggregated. And it's also not all copy traded. So I only really copy trade about 3 or 4. And then I like to, you know, trade them at different parts of the day rather than kind of putting all my eggs in one basket, then getting smacked on the face and calling it a day. Yeah. So what I like to do, I like to trade 3 maybe overnight. Then I switch on about 3 or 4 during the sort of this time period. And then as the day carries on, I will typically switch all of the bots off and then maybe just trade 1 account towards the end of the day. So that way you're kind of looking into diversifying as the day carries on. So even if, you know, you mess something up later on in the day or there's a tape bomb, I got tape bomb last week, managed to recover it pretty quickly. But yeah, if something happens unexpectedly, not all of your accounts go to trash, right? So you have to be a little bit more careful, I suppose. All right, what's tape doing here? Tape is being sketchy. Sketchy. Let me just get rid of Dax here, because Dax is rolled. So I don't really have any levels yet. Right, are we going to mess around? Right, so we just had some stuff popping off here. See that? Those are some larger orders with a little bit of a sweep right into that gamma wall. So sometimes it takes a little bit of time for them to step back into the market once they effectively either exit their positions or enter new ones. And a lot of the times they will try and overshoot the gamma wall first. They sometimes even hang slightly above it before they decide who's they, the wizards. The dealers, of course. Like, what do I talk about? The dealers. So we'll see whether that hypothesis, which is reversal at the big gamma wall with the rejection at the daily supply and rising up to the London value, maybe testing it a little bit deeper than we would have liked, but then ultimately reversing around Asia high and then rotating back. So that's the hypothesis. Reversal at the former Asia high after a sweep into the gamma wall. So hopefully that's clear enough. Could I explain where my stop loss is in copper and why? It's standard 55 ticks based on the formula that I use to scale my stops to the volatility of the product. So right now that calls for 55 ticks, and that's now located at 52.05, which is very far away from the 650 level and very far from the Asia high and from the London value high from yesterday, but also not so far away to not allow me to get a positive, viable, statistically viable risk reward on the day. So 55 ticks, 55 takes, yeah. 55 ticks on a product that roughly moves about to 12 to 50 ticks in a day. It means that it's very possible to get 2R, 1.5, 1.7, maybe even 2.5 R multiples on the day. And for copper, I don't really do scalps because it's not that kind of a product. On GC, I do scalps because it's very fast. If you try and scalp on copper, you'll be there like forever. You'll be like, okay. Yeah, but when it moves, it actually moves in a, you know, pretty, like look at the candles previously, right? So when it makes that major push for the day, this is what it looks like. It just does it. So if you're not already kind of identifying, then maybe you're looking for a reclaim of this 645 level. You would never be in that, right? You would just be like, oh, what happened? And then, yeah, you might catch a little bit, but this is a 15-minute time frame. So you would be waiting for 15, 30, 45, an hour. Like, you would be waiting for such a long time to get your scalp. So copper is a beautiful product. It's very smooth, but it's not the fastest. So, you know, by default, you need to have a lot of patience when you're trading copper. Zaid says, dear question, bookmap and heat maps generally are very commonly used for indices futures, but very rarely I see someone use them for commodities like I do for copper. Any idea what is the reason? Very simple. There's not enough commodities traders. You tell me. Let me ask you. how many other people do you know trade copper? Name one person on the internet. Just one. No? Can't think of one? That's your reason, right? So how many NQ traders and ES traders do you see? Everybody, right? Every YouTuber, left, right, and center, what do? Well, I trade NQ. What do you trade? NQ. What do you trade? MNQ. What do you trade? ES. Okay, great. We got an ES trader. So commodities are largely not well represented on YouTube. And it is also one of the reasons why I do turn up here to kind of show you guys there is a, you know, there are other products out there. Shock horror, right? And I think recently crude oil has come back into the focus. But, you know, for about 2-3 years, crude oil was a dead fish. You know, it was very difficult to trade because the liquidity went out of it completely. And similarly, commodities such as copper, they also have issues with seasonality. So, for example, as soon as we hit like mid-July, I'm probably not going to be trading copper. Why? Because it's going to be dead. It'd be dead, right? So there's no point. But I then move to something like gold, for example, because gold also goes a little more quiet, but because it's such a volatile product, you kind of maintain the same or you know, some sort of movement throughout the summertime so you can survive. But yeah, so that's primarily the reason. There's just not enough people who are trading alternative products. You know, they trade popular products, and it's always been that way, right? You have commodities that are generally a little bit tougher to figure out because there is a macro side to them. You know, it's not all just levels. It's not, you know, for example, copper has a huge effect on like the CPI and PPI. So whenever there's a CPI and PPI release, copper will be pretty reactive, right? Why? Because they're closely connected to the economy, and you know, some of the supplies of copper can tell you whether the economy is doing well or not well. Similar, you know, it's similar actually to interest rates and crude oil, but in crude oil it takes a little while for the whole thing to start taking hold. Oh god, okay. Right, so still underneath that that area, I would like to see more commitment. They kind of smashed through the 450, and now they're just hanging. But Delta is still falling, so at some point, this is what I was saying. Like, they kind of do this thing where they reach an area, and it's not like an immediate hedge. They're like testing the waters, right? They're like, is it? And sure, it could go into a gamma squeeze. That could happen, you know. Do I want it to happen? Well, no, obviously. So in that case, I'm going to have to be scrambling and closing things. But for now, I think my stop is at a decent enough position to handle stuff. And if we get smacked for about 4 or 5k, so be it. Losses are part of the game. If you're uncomfortable losing that amount, it's really a you problem. Alright, let's have a look at chat. Doomlord, always good to see you. How are things in the Borg cube? In the green lighting? Do we still have green lighting? But good to see you here. How are you doing, man? Okay, let's see. Doom says this stream deserves more likes, people. Let's get it going. I agree with that assessment. So give me some lube. Can I have some lube? Lube. I always find the audience interaction so weird. And I know I used to be a musician, but I never used to need to like talk. I used to just come out and either sing or do my instruments, and then that would be it. And then all of a sudden I started doing this, and people are like, yeah, you should ask for like likes. And I was like, huh? What do you mean I should ask for likes? And, other people around me, they're like, yeah, the YouTubers, like, they all like ask for likes. And I was like, isn't that a bit pathetic? It's like, please, but like me, please, can you like? So yeah, that's why I find it weird, but I do appreciate the love. I do, very much so, because all of you are here sharing your time with me. I'm here sharing my time with you, and pouring my soul out most of the day. So yeah, so now they're, they're trying, but it's not exactly smashing through it. Again, as long as delta is falling, we should be right. And, these sorts of trades where you're trying to go against, the perceivable massive move, they can be scary, right? They are scary because you're thinking, oh my God, I'm going against the trend. But the thing against the trend situation is really only applicable for equities because they are relentless. In commodities, things are not that dangerous. And in fact, I frequently go against the flow, and most times it is the right decision. But if I'm trading DAX or something and I see that it's gone into the similar situation, I will probably be looking at more of a gamma squeeze through this 650 level or equivalent, then going, oh yeah, let me try and fade that. But because this is copper, and because every time copper gets anywhere near its all-time highs, it does this weird thing where it pops the high and then it reverses, right? So we haven't popped the high recently, the all-time high, but if I draw your attention to the daily chart, we have a very interesting situation of a reactive supply. So we didn't actually go into another all-time high, it was reactive. And now we've come back to the top quartile. Oh yeah, I don't have Q points here yet. And this whole zone, because this was a drop-based drop, this whole zone for me, especially after this reaction yesterday, this zone means basically shorts will be a better choice. Can longs work? Well, anything can work, right? Anything can happen, and anything, can change in a blink of an eye. But just from a diagnostics side of things, I want to be short anywhere between like the 650 and 655 area. So even if I get smacked on the face once, I know that the shorts worked overnight. So that was the first sign, right? So now we have a bit of a weird time of day where we're like, where are we going to go? We came up to the Asia high. I think we're kind of exceeding the amount and power and momentum that we can continue with. So right now I would like to see if we do reverse, but is it going to reverse from 650, or is it going to try and go higher and then ultimately reverse from 655 a little bit later in the day, having exceeded the ADR high, which is sitting at just above 653, 654, Now, would I like it to reverse here? Of course, I'm short from this area, so, but am I going to have a terrible problem? And is it going to push me on tilt if it knocks me out here and then carries on? Also, no. But does it change anything? Am I suddenly going to start chasing longs here? No. Why? Because on the higher time frame, longs are just not an option for me here. Longs will be an option if we fall massively down, and then I'm kind of looking at the end of the day sort of situation, maybe even, you know, Euro close in a few hours. I might be going, yeah, okay, let's try mean reversion long intraday. But, you know, I would be fully aware that that is clashing with what I'm seeing on the large time frames. Right, so we've had some more things popping off here. So look at this. These are some larger orders, which don't seem that big, but for copper, they are actually pretty significant. Another sweep, another failure to go above 650, and more negative delta stepping into the market. So there's, yeah, there's no reason for me here to be looking for longs at all. Just a bit of patience. Patience, just a tiny bit. Oh, where can I learn your volume profile strategy? So I'm a TPO profile person. So volume profile to me is not enough resolution, but I do use exhaustion volume bars. I always say I don't use volume much. And then in the past, I've had some people who read that as she doesn't use volume. And I was like, no, that's a different statement, right? So I said, I don't use volume much. I didn't say I don't use volume at all. Big difference. Devil is in the detail, as always. So the way I do things is to TPO profile, but I also have statistical averages. I have very specific times of day. I look at the volatility of the product, and yes, I look at the exhaustion volume bars for certain entries. I focus on swing extremes, but if you want to check it out, and if you want to learn and you're new to me, check out the links below this video. That's usually the right way to start, right? So if you scroll all the way down on that page, there will be like 3 mini courses for $50 or something like that. So one of them will be supply and demand, another one is market profile, and the third one is the candlestick workshop, because those are like the 3 kind of foundational things that you need to know, but they're also very cost efficient, right? So they're very affordable, just so that you can see whether you connect to my teaching style and whether you connect to all of the stuff that I'm talking about anyways. Are we gonna get a tape bomb? This looks a bit newsy. My 4-year-old said to switch to blue. I sized up in the shop yesterday, so I'm licking wounds today. Yeah. So I sat in a copper short for 14 hours yesterday. And in the end, it wasn't like a disaster day or anything, but it was just so mentally draining. I had a headache at the end of the day. I was fed up. It wasn't just, I think the only thing that didn't go into a chop was gold, but I chose copper because I saw this thing happening on the daily, and I sat in that horrible trade for literally like half a millennia. It seemed, it aged me to no end, but today it seems to be moving, you know, a little bit better. Yeah, I hate watching paint dry trades. That's like nothing worse than that. But luckily I didn't like do a million trades. I just, you know, sat in one. All right, some weakness in gold there. Let's see if it pulls the little copper along with it. Even though yesterday they were not really correlating, so it's almost like copper has decided to have a mind of its own today. Or this week. Isn't this riveting? We're waiting. Sim just says, D, more love to you. Do you watch, read Tracy? Shoe? Tracy? Or who are my favorite people in Steel Macro? I'll be honest, I don't really go looking for other people's opinions at this point. I think when I was a newer trader, I was like, yeah, let's look at what the macro side is doing. But one thing that I've learned in this game is that we are intraday traders. Even if you're going to trade over maybe like a couple of days or something, that is generally not a macro view. So what you're looking for prices to simply do something technically, and that's completely irrespective of macro. Why? Because look at the gamma levels, right? Whatever macro says, dealers still have to hedge and re-hedge. So it doesn't matter that maybe inventories tomorrow comes out like, you know, super low or whatever. You will not see a movement that goes, hey, we are, you know, we have a problem with crude oil inventories, so now let's just go into this massive uptrend. That won't happen. It might happen over a week or so, but macro is very slow to react. So, you know, I've been doing this for 20 years, and in the beginning, I also was like, who do I listen to? You know, I was watching CNBC, you know, I was going on different blogs and stuff, you know, listening to, I don't know, so many other people from various, like, capital this and capital that and asset management this. Did it help? No. Not at all. It just confused the crap out of me, if I'm going to be honest. So these days I understand the macro side, but is that going to change my view that, for example, if we look at the crude oil chart, let me find it. I do apologize about the white charts, but I did, I just love white charts when I'm trading, so sue me. You know, is that going to change the view that today we have a lot of weak puts and then neither of them seem to be causing the price to reverse? Or is it going to change my view that the gamma wall, the gamma put wall is sitting all the way down at 75? No, it won't, right? So how would I play this? Well, I would look for maybe VWAP to line up with this 79 area, and if the time of day is correct for such moves, to maybe even try a continuation short, right? But if somebody comes up and goes, yeah, like crude oil inventories, we're missing crude oil, they're not just gonna straight up go and ignore all the flows completely, right? So to me, that's just completely pointless. And in fact, all of the time through the Trump bombs, what I would wait for is when a Trump bomb would hit, tape bomb would hit, I would wait for a little while. I would either get, like you've seen me be on both sides of that, right? You've seen me get tape bombed against my position, but you've also seen me get, you know, favorable results from a tape bomb. But whatever happens after that, I will usually sit and wait, and then I will decide what to do. But only if I see like an exhaustion volume bar or something like that. So it wouldn't be like an immediate thing where I'm like, oh my God, let's trade. I'm always waiting for the big shakeouts and then almost using them as a counter indicators. And that's worked exquisitely well in this entire USA-Iran conflict. So whatever the bullshit news that they come up with, just wait, At some point, there will be an exhaustion bar on the volume, and that's your reversal. So, is macro super important? If you're going to do position trading, and if you're going to keep your positions for a month, 2 months, 3 months, yeah, it's extraordinarily important. But if you're just looking to hold the open, and out of the intraday traders, I'm probably one that holds positions for a very long time comparatively, because my average hold time has always been like 100 to 140 minutes in a day. And that's intraday, right? So most of you, if you look at what your average is, it's going to be in minutes. It's not going to be in like hours, right? So again, does it matter to me as somebody who holds trades for 140 minutes? No, it doesn't even matter to me. So personally, it's been many years since I've actually obsessed over macro anything, because I'm just not in the market long enough for the macro to affect me. And therefore, why would I waste my already limited energy on something, reading things and filling my brain with stuff that I understand very well anyway, but it's not going to help me in trading. So, what I look for in a day, where are the major gamma levels? Are we at the top or bottom supply or demand in the overall larger time frame picture? How are we opening in relation to the previous day's value area? So distribution curve, are we inside it or outside of it? All the stuff that, I teach in the Market Focus program. It's exactly the same thing. So that is the stuff that matters. The rest of it, macro, schmacro, and all that, I just don't think that our time frames are long enough for us to be super obsessed with macro side. Is it good to understand it? Yes. But is it going to help you make a decision what your next trades should be? No. And if you're only looking at it according to macro, you will have some very, very bad trades on your hands. It's just, not the best choice for what we're trying to do here. But should you educate yourself and understand how maybe, crude oil supply issues could affect crude oil prices and the economy in the coming months? Absolutely. But should it concern you like today? No. All right, so there's still just literally crawling around this 650 area. There's been no decision since the sweep. And if anything, there's a lot of transactions here, but nobody's winning. So until somebody wins, there's nothing for us to do. What's the time? 1:45. Okay. Oh, shy girl. Yeah. So again, when I was a prop trader, she was also a prop trader. Like, we're actually not, I don't think we're too dissimilar in age, actually. I think she's only like a few years older than me. So, I was already in prop when she sort of started getting a little bit more popular. But yeah, so I used to listen to her. I think she's on Ninja now. So I know of her. It's just I don't really, again, I don't look at other people's analysis because I've got my own, right? Yeah, so I'm just looking up. Yeah, so basically Tracy and I are very close in age. I don't think we know exactly how old she is, but it says late 70s. So I was born in 1980. So yeah. And you know, I remember when I was a prop trader, like she was a prop trader as well. And then it was all like, you know, I don't know, I kind of feel like when I was getting into the industry, she was also getting a little bit more well known. So it's a weird one for me, you know. And I remember hearing a lot about her, but I was like, oh, okay, another girl crude oil trader, cool, yeah. But yeah, so it's again, it's a bizarre thing. No, she's great. Like the whole team on Ninja is actually really capable. Obviously, you've got Pax, you've got Anthony Crudelli, um, you've got Tracy, you've got well, I suppose Nick for a tick is there now as well, so we know each other from Top Step. Which is better, buying challenges or instant accounts? Um, we've been through this many times before, so um, basically it's down to your experience, right? I'm getting really hot in this stupid coat, so I'm gonna get rid of it. But yeah, so instant accounts, I feel like they're more for people who already are super confident and you know you're going to get stuff out of it and you know that you won't blow up a million times before you get to a payout stage. And I feel that that's kind of pretty important. If you're not at that point, buying instant accounts is literally just throwing money away because you're going to blow up many times. And then what's going to happen is that your upfront cost is going to be super high, but you won't get the payout to cover that and then some. So it really depends where you are in your journey. If you are at a point where you are effectively still having to blow up a number of evaluations, and also ask yourself how many payouts do you usually receive before you blow up. So if that is just one payout, I would say that that is not good enough to cover enough of your costs for you to stop buying instant evaluations, instant funded accounts. So I would go to evaluations only, right? So yeah, if you are still having to blow up several times before you even get funded, definitely evaluations should be your primary concern. And you know, in that case, you need to try and keep them as cheap as possible, you know. And again, places like Apex, Trade Day, you know, they're probably a better bet. Why? Because you can buy evaluations for like 49 or 39 bucks up to what, 62 with Trade Day. So, you know, keep your costs down. Keep your costs down if that's the case. If you're already somebody who, you know, gets funded easily and you are typically holding on to the accounts for as long as you want, really, whether that's to like max payout, because some companies have max payouts as well, like Apex does. On the EOD accounts, you can only get 6 lifetime payouts of the account before you need to buy more. You know, if that's the case, then you're probably okay to buy the instant funded accounts because it would be worthwhile. Okay, if it's not worthwhile, that means you still have a ways to go and you still want to be able to ensure that you get to a payout stage, right? So it's all down to where you are in your journey, and this answer will be different for everybody. So, because everybody is at a different point, right? Back to the old school says 20 years, snap. Yeah, I've been trading since, like, I started looking at the charts and stuff already in 2006, but then 2007 is when I really kind of started to, you know, learn it properly. And in 2008, I was already deep into it. Then I traded my own money until 2012, and then I became a prop trader right after that because Forex died on me and I didn't know how to trade intraday. So I went somewhere so people can teach me. Right, so there's nothing's changed here. Like everything is kind of just waiting for this decision to happen. Let's have a look at the calendar because I just want to make sure we don't have anything that's gonna put a wrench in the works. Put a wrench in the works, wrench in the works. Right, I seem to be holding on with this pain nonsense, so yeah, I was in a mess before I came on. At one point I didn't know whether I was gonna stream because I was like just doubled over and I couldn't move. So that's weird. Tuesday. Yeah, so we have ADP, but 1:15, so that's in about 20 minutes time. I wouldn't call that a strong enough release. Did anyone pick up some SpaceX things? Shares? Jubilee Nexus said, oh wow, so way before the COVID wave of traders. Yeah, man. Like, COVID for me was just a weird blip where the prop firm I was working at then closed their doors for a while. So I was like, but now what do I do? But yeah, no, I've been in the industry since, like, as a prop trader, professional prop trader since like 2013. That's when I first joined like a prop firm or whatever. But we didn't have remote prop firms. It was a brick and mortar. So, you know, I had to actually go away and actually go to the office. And yeah, and then this whole online thing, like I knew about TopStep because I was their first female funded trader in 2015. And the story behind that was that I came back and I was looking for a Chicago firm that had all the same sort of rules that I really enjoyed, but that would allow you to work remotely. And the only people that popped up back then were TopStep. So I signed up and I passed it and I became their first female funded trader. That's how I got, to know Hogue and Eddie and Michael and everybody. And yeah, so then I was a part of their Squawk Radio as a guest. They had a Squawk Radio before they had TopStep TV many, many moons ago. So I've been around, Why'd you think the gray hair? You think that's just fashion choice? It's no fashion choice. It's age. But yeah. KJ says, good morning. I'm waiting for a pullback on SpaceX and to establish a range so I can put the profile on there and let you talk because right now we don't know where it's going to go. Yeah. I remember Squawk. Does that still exist? So there were different Squawk services and they probably still exist. I think Rand Squawk is still around. But this was TopStep Radio Squawk. That doesn't exist anymore because obviously they ran that for a few years and then I think somebody advised MP that wasn't good and then he stopped it. But then after many years later, in 2023, they reached out to me to see if I wanted to be a part of Top Step TV that they were starting. So I was like, well, what's that? And the way Hogue explained it to me, he was like, well, it's kind of like Top Step Squawk, but, you know, we're going to be on TV. And I was like, oh, really? Okay. How's that going to work? And yeah, so that's how it began. You know, it was just a new medium, and that was 2023. So yeah, it was quite a big jump, you know. So 2015, I think they closed probably in 2016, 17, maybe 2018, I'm not sure. And then for a while there was nothing. There was no, like, you know, no Squawk Radio, there was nothing, no Top Step TV, obviously. And then in 2023, after doing many panels, and, you know, we were, you know, every so on, like I had Hogue on my podcast as well, Drink with Traders. That was a pretty fun thing to do with him. Because again, Hogue and I are friends. We have been friends for like 11 years already. And I was doing like a little podcast series. So I said, you know, you wanna come? And then he was like, should we do it live? And then we did it live. So I was like, okay. I was really nervous to do it live, because, you know, podcasts generally can be quite long, and, you know, things can happen and whatever. And I just wasn't well versed in the same way that I am now, I suppose, you know, because obviously I've been doing this for quite a long time. But back then it was still like, oh my God, doing something live. But yeah, it worked out, and it was pretty cool. Like, if you haven't seen that, go and check out the podcast section on my channel. And you'll also find some other podcasts there. Not too many, because again, I got sick very soon after. So I wasn't really able to continue that. Yeah, COVID was a weird thing. Come on, move. Like, if I just zoom out, you know, this is what we have. We have basically a smash through 450, and then nothing. Just nothing. So we gotta be patient. Do I want it to be quicker? Yeah, but also no. Because quicker means more craziness, and I just want to give it plenty of time to make a decision. Maybe they say ATP number is going to push it one way or the other. Like, at this point, I just want it pushing somewhere. I don't care where. All right, how much are copper and our friend copper and gold correlating? So let's see. Dragonfire says, hi, is today an official trading holiday? No. Friday is Juneteenth. Why would you think it's a... Now I'm like that guy who, you know, the dude that does, like, Instagram, probably even TikTok stuff, but he's, like, explaining things in English that don't make any sense. And then he goes, what did you think? And that's because that's why. So it's like his little tagline. Because he says things like, you know, if one goose, if it is singular, then plural goose is, and then whoever he's trying to teach it to goes, gooses. No, what did you think? Geese, it's geese. And then he starts going into all of the irregular verbs and nouns and everything, and it's always different and it makes zero sense. But he's like, no, what did you think? So I'm like that now. It's like, it's not a holiday. What did you think? I'll see if I can find the guy so you'll know what the hell I'm yapping on about. So it's Bobby Finn is his name, right? So So let me see if I can maybe get the desktop audio here going. Get the desktop audio here going. All right. Get the desktop.
Is this where it is?
Do you guys hear that?
No, it's head. You don't see how head. Is this where
That's
it
why.
is?
Okay.
Which means this word would be.
It's head. So it'd be
Bed?
Head.
No.
It's
Bead.
Okay.
Why would you say?
This word
It's because it's like heat, not head.
No.
Bead.
It's bead.
That's why. Which means if you add an R to bead, you get
Not head.
breed. No. It's bread. You don't see how? It's because it's like head, not heat. Bread.
No.
That's why.
bread.
Okay? Which means this word would be
Breck.
no.
Bread. No.
That's why.
Break.
Yeah, I probably do have an
means
echo
this word
because
would
I'm probably picking up from the desktop and the thing. But yeah, so that's him. It's Bobby Finn. So it's quite a funny thing where he goes, yeah, and that's because that's why. He never actually explains it. What do my membership offer? So the one on YouTube is literally just for either previous live streams that used to be membership based, but mainly now the whole memberships on YouTube are to do with the daily Discord levels that we offer. So I can show you what's in that. So for example, we have the levels that get posted in case you don't have any of our indicators, but you still want to have the ADRs, ASRs, and R profiles, because we do kind of do them in a slightly different way. And then you have 3 different channels. You have equities, metals, and energies. Now the anchor levels are still being posted as the manual sort of thing. However, the levels on the gamma indicator are updated automatically these days. But if you want to go back or something, you can manually override that, and that's why that's going to stay. Now we do have a little trader chat area where I sometimes post the dealer positionings, which people find pretty useful. So again, you know, code changes, how many puts or calls do we add overnight, and all of that. And then we also have some other members that also chirp in when they have something to say. So that's the YouTube memberships. That's what they're for. They are basically just a little Discord utility server with a little bit of levels in there as well. If you're asking me about the pro development memberships, that's on the website, and you have basically just lectures and a CPD certified course that teaches all of the gamma flows, teaches literally everything that I talk about here. So profile, auction theory, statistical averages. I literally pour my soul out in there. So, all right, so a little bit of commitment to the downside. Is it sustained? So that's the next question. So we have an attempt of moving this higher. They're trying to go below it. And now we want to see whether we stay under 650. Okay? That's a part of a OODA loop. Observe, orient, decide, act. Do you have a subscription where you live stream daily? I do not. I will not be streaming daily. I'm way too busy with fintech stuff. Because remember, this is just me wanting to have a little bit of community and some presence. The reason why I went to Top Step as sort of like a daily streaming thing was because I was extraordinarily sick and I just had no other energy to actually do anything else. But I've always been more of a fintech leader, creating tools for the community, things like all of these indicators. That's what we've done, right? So the P&L monitor, that is also a piece of something that we're creating for the community. Whatever you see me use, that is there because I needed it. And then other people were like, hey, I would like that as well. How do I get it? Fintech, right? So I will probably never be one of those, live streamers who like put everything into live streaming every single day, because I don't want my life to be that. I am there to serve whoever needs it, but I'm also not going to be sitting on the internet every day on my YouTube channel and going, look at me. But, I will turn up twice a week, maybe 3 times if we're going to do glowbacks at some point. This week is all weird because it's like Juneteenth and it's like kind of half holiday. So at some point, we'll be doing, one glowbacks session just to see how that looks. But generally, I have come back to doing a lot of fintech stuff. And I do have some contracts outside of this whole prop world and everything, so it has nothing to do with that. And yeah, so the YouTube side of things is just a small piece of what I'm generally doing, if that makes sense, right? So yeah, I do not live stream daily. And even when I had like the health and stuff, I don't think I did it daily. I think I still only did it like 3-4 times a week. Because I think it's overkill, and I do trading not to shop myself into another 9 to 5. I do trading because it's enjoyable, and I can decide whether I'm going to do this or not. I'm not looking to be somewhere at a particular time of the day because, I have to live stream. Like, that just doesn't make much sense to me. Unless, like I said, I have health issues and therefore that is the only thing that I can be doing. But now, my health is generally a lot better. Again, I don't know what. I think I was waiting for the medication to arrive, and I did lower the dosage, so maybe that did something, and that's why I was a bit suffering today. But hopefully, because it's a compounding pharmacy, so they take a while to send it out. But yeah, it looks like this copper trade is going to be a long one as well, just like yesterday, because same thing happened yesterday. Everything looked amazing for London, and then it just died a death. The hypothesis is still the same. So this is based on larger time frames. It's based on a pretty massive gamma wall. And yeah, hopefully that ADP might actually just give it a poke with a stick so that we can grab a little bit of a pullback somewhere. Am I coming on Fed Day tomorrow? Again, by the time that, look, I'm not an equity trader, right? First and foremost. What the fuck do I have to hang on the Fed rate decision for? Like, all of my trades are already done usually by like the euro close mostly. And even when the Fed rate is happening, that is really quite a big event for gold and equities. Crude oil and copper, if you look at them during the release, they're just like, they move a little bit, but they're just like, yeah, whatever, mate. Yeah, EVs. Whatever. So it's like, to me, I just don't trade that late unless I was like on Top Step or something. And you know, by the time that everything, like most of my trading is done Asia, early London, and in around this time of the day. And that's like, that's the end. So, you know, and you shouldn't be trading the rate decision. In fact, in the course, I tell you the big four that you're not supposed to trade into, but people still do. So I'm like, do you want to get smacked in the face with like lack of liquidity and slippage? Like, why are we doing that? Right? So I feel like that would be disingenuous for me to go, yeah, let's trade. Let's trade the Fed rate decision. It's like, have you seen how that stuff works? And I will tell you, I got stuck in a Fed rate decision moves. The aftermath, I didn't trade into it, but I couldn't get out. So I executed 120 lot position on ES. And yes, I was working for an institution back then. And if you think that you're immune from whatever just because you're trading with size, it gets even worse. It gets much worse. You can't close a position. So I got stuck, and initially it went in my favor. In fact, it was like 150 ticks in my favor or something. But then I couldn't close it out. And it turned around, went completely back the other way, and then overshot my stop loss because there was nobody else there to take my stop. The end day was like about $250,000 loss, which again wasn't terrible because at that time there was only about barely like 10% of the entire allocation, but it was painful. Okay. Since then, I do not trade the FOMC rate decision because I'm not insane. Now, arguably, if you're on a sim or something, you know, you can say that, well, you know, slippage, but they do try to simulate slippage as well. Okay. So it's not, you know, it's not going to be super different. So, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Nanka says they like to smack stops in both directions. Yeah, and they will always do it from the gamma levels. So it's like I can see what they're doing. It's just that you're not able to safely execute any positions and then go, hey, I'm definitely, you know, looking at just booking it with no problems. Because there's always a question of whether there's going to be enough orders to the opposite side to take your take profit or stop or whatever. And if there aren't, you can throw away all of your analysis and your levels because you won't be able to get out. It's like the mafia. You can get in, can't get out. So that's the reason why I'm like, you know, I think it's stupid to, like, you can get popcorn and beer and watch it, but just don't trade it. It's like, it's the most dangerous things you can do. And, you know, I am trying to move you guys away from gambling. And then for me to turn up for the rate decision and go, yeah, so I'm doing like 1 micro. It's like, I'm done with that. I'm done trading fucking micros. And I'm going to trade full positions, maybe micros in gold if it's moving like a million ticks. But I still trade full CL and full HG. And, you know, there's absolutely no need for me not to trade full copper because copper doesn't go as nuts. And when I do catch a move, it's generally correct. And I get quite a bit of cash for very little risk comparatively. Does that make sense? Oh yeah, so Initial Maverick, thank you for joining the medals. What you will need to do is to completely exit your Discord, because Discord is stupid that way. So you signed up, so they do the sync through the integration, but you actually have to kill the app completely in the taskbar so that it's out. And then next time when you kick it off, it all shows up. I don't know why it's like that, but it just is. Okay. But thank you. Welcome. I will see you in there. KJ says, I mean, are you going to analyze with the fact? No, like, again, that's not my market, right? So it's like, first of all, I'm not trading it. Second of all, analyzing the movement on the day, well, what's that going to do? Absolutely nothing. Like, I want to see the effect of the new chairman and the new, you know, whatever is going on with the economy. Are we in recession or not? Because crude oil has been above over 100 for extended period of time. That could be a problem. And then if we do see that effect coming in, that's not going to happen tomorrow, right? That's going to happen in a month, 2 months, 3 months. So again, completely pointless to be looking at what, you know, things are going to happen. I will be listening to what he's saying, right? But I'm not going to be sitting in front of the charts. I'm probably going to be out on a dog walk because that's usually the time when I take the dogs for walkies. And for me to give up the dog walk just so I can sit here and just go, yeah, guys, so we're not going to trade, but let's see what he says. Like my life, I don't live to trade, guys. I trade to live, okay? So I trade so that I can have a life outside of this. I do not want this to be like everything and anything. I did that when I was younger, and now I'm in a pretty relaxed situation where half of my trading is automated, so I don't need to be here. And then the other half is as and when I feel like it. Like with this copper trade. It looks pretty good. I've had my eye on it for a couple of days. Yeah, I will put in a discretionary trade, okay? But again, I don't need to be here. And that was one of the things that annoyed me with TopStep, that I couldn't do all the stuff that I already had as an infrastructure somewhere else when they took away Ninja. And it just became extremely difficult for me. But now we're back to my old thing that I've used to do for like the last 10 years at least. Because I've been using Ninja for a very long time. And, you know, now I translated all of our indicators there as well. Poor keyboard. All right. So let's see. On the copper trade, short story vibes wants to know. What are your thoughts? At one point, would you say that the trend is moving against you? HG is, if the stop loss gets hit, that's when. So until the stop is in place, it is located at a spot where the whole hypothesis has to be completely broken. So until that's taken out, it's still valid, right? Now, if we get into the situation where, for example, we get to the euro close in 3 or 4 hours, and they're still just smashing past Asia high and holding, maybe I would be like, okay, perhaps my hypothesis is wrong. But nothing's changed for me. So, you know, I work over time of day sections, right? So it's like for every particular time of day, I have a probability expectation of what should happen depending on what I'm trading. Okay, so, you know, crude oil has its own day trading time zones, copper has its own, Asia has their own quirks and stuff. So yeah, but largely it's, you know, stop loss or bust, basically. Stop loss or, you know, time of day. But generally I don't mess with stops if I can help it. I just find it counterproductive. When you look at the longer term P&L curve and what do the early exits and early kills do for your P&L. In my case, the only thing that those do is to take me out of the perfectly good trades that end up reaching target. But that's because of the nature of the levels that I use. So I use the gamma levels, distribution curves, time of day. I look at the auction theory. I look at the auction quality. So that allows me to be a little bit more confident in the things that I'm doing. Right, so let's see if we can get a nice drop here. What about trading with volume footprint? I don't like volume footprint for the same reason I don't like time and sales. It's all just letters, and numbers. And I can't do the pure numbers thing. Because time and sales is effectively the same thing that you get on Bookmap. It's just all in just numerical form. And for some reason, my brain just doesn't process that. And footprint, the same thing. I can actually show you footprint. And I think they go way too granular for what I'm looking for. But for example, now this is just a regular footprint. So hold on. There it is. Okay. So if you look at how these things are, so it's like, okay, you have 0 clusters, but it's all just numbers. And yeah, there's a bit of a histogram. But what is this telling me? It's telling me exactly the same information that sweep told me a while back, that we had some clusters of zeros and that we had a whole bunch of orders trading within a very short space of time. So to me, that's way too granular. And plus the fact that we have 1, -2, 2, -1, 6, 6, 0. I don't like pure numbers. I don't. I do everything in my power to stay away from calculations while I'm trading and things that could take me away from the pattern recognition and staying objective, reading how the flow is progressing. I don't get that information. I know that some people do, but I'm not like most people. I'm a left-handed person. My brain works in a completely different way. I do everything the opposite way. So, you know, people do one thing this way. I find a way to do it completely differently. So I've always been that way. And some people who are in trading, they love numbers. I love numbers when they have a purpose, but I prefer patterns and pretty pictures as the former musician that I am. So, you know, so footprint for me is a no. But I had somebody on the program who is a younger guy, and he used footprint with my existing conditions just for like general entry timing. More big orders smacked in the copper product now, and we're at 649. So at the moment we're sitting under 615, and we do have do we have COMEX? Okay, so my indicator will print COMEX in like 4 minutes time. I might as well stay here. But yeah, let's see if we can actually get a bit of a smash lower. See if we can add a little bit more cash onto this 12 grand. No promises. I never come to any sort of trading session with expectations. John says, D, I know I'm late to the party this morning. Just wanted to say thank you so much for your teaching, perseverance, honesty, and knowledge. Thank you for helping us all. Thank you for being here. I've always said, you know, whatever improvements you end up getting as a result of listening to me yap and blabber, that's because you've done the work. You know, yes, I provided the information, maybe, but you're the one who has to do the hard graft. There can be many people here who are just listening and going, yeah, D, whatever, and they never put in those steps. So again, those of you who are action takers, you've seen the results and improvements and stuff, and I thank you for being here. Because that's what it's all about, right? If I'm just, talking into the wind, that's fine, that's cool, but I like to think that I'm a little bit more useful than that. I don't know, though. Zafar says, how do I make myself start booking profits? I don't book profits like 1 to 2 or 1 to 3, and then it trades back to my stop loss. So a couple of things, Zafar, to unpack there. What are you basing your 2 and 3R multiples on? Is it some larger time frame? Or is it actually 2R that you could easily fit into today's range when you're purely looking at how much on average something moves every single day? So at the moment, for example, gold moves about 942 ticks in a day. So if you were to have, let's say, a 400 tick target on a 200 tick stop, that's a 2 to 1, right? That could easily fit into that volatility. No problem at all. But if you were to apply the same thing on copper that only moves 250 for the duration of COMEX, what will you be doing? Well, you're using a 200 tick stop and you're trying to get 400 ticks. Not a chance in hell that you will get that on any other day apart from an outlier day that does move 600, 700, 800 ticks once in a blue moon. So what's going to keep happening to you? You're going to enter a trade, then you're going to get to 0.5 in profit, then it goes back, then it hits your stop. And if your trade locations are not absolutely spot on, we're talking about a whole different can of worms to add to the initial problem of using inappropriate, very ambitious targets that are based on nothing, that are based on general market structure and have zero chance in hell of being reached intraday. So which one is it? You have to tell me, because I don't know enough about your trading to tell you where the issue lies. But that would be one of the problems that we're sorting out for our market stalkers on the Pro Development Program, for example. Knowing whether your stop is too large, too small, just right, and whether the targets that you are chasing are too ambitious and impossible, or whether they're statistically viable in a day. And we actually had somebody, he's still with me, actually, he does pop in here. He might even be listening. So he came to me a few years ago. And again, I'm not going to name any names. Don't want to, say who it is, but you know who you are. So he was doing 10 to 1s. Like every day he would be sitting down and just shooting for 10 to 1 or bust, or nothing. So I'm like, but you're missing out on perfectly good and statistically viable 2Rs. Like what's wrong with that? No, I want to get and I said, okay, so how is that working for you? And he said, well, it's not. And I'm like, I'm not surprised. So you need to find where the wrench in the works is happening and then deal with it systematically. So if the issue is you using random targets that are based on nothing, that's one problem. If you are not basing your stops to the stops and targets on the volatility of the product and actually fitting them into the intraday, that's also a problem. Do I have any advice for trading metals going into summer season? Yeah, stay away from HG. So focus mostly on MGC and GC because that's the only thing that continues to move. So the only difference will be if we still have some wars kicking off, then crude oil can be quite lively. But metals, you will see copper and silver, platinum, they just die a death. But gold, for some reason, doesn't suffer from that liquidity dry up as much. Still, you know, still slows down a bit, but not nearly as much as some of the others. All right. All right, so we're coming to the end of the stream here, but I just want to see what happens in this initial balance. I mean, for now it looks great, right? So it looks like we have a bearish engulfing into COMEX open underneath the 650. Obviously, if we get gold strength, because gold is still above the gamma flip and above Asia high. However, I don't think that the correlation between these two is super strong. So let me just check that for you. Yeah, so GC and HG currently are actually slightly negative. That could change. But at the moment, they're sitting at minus 0.4 on a 5-minute time frame. One thing about copper, though, if gold has a massive upside movement, that will pull copper somewhat. But generally, when the correlation is not super strong, okay, I'm gonna have to finish the stream because I'm getting the pain again. All right, guys, so I'm gonna hold on to the copper, but yeah, so when the correlations are not super strong, then you can kind of look at them as separate instruments. But when the correlation climbs to about 0.7, 0.8, then you have to take note of whatever gold is doing. That's all for me today. I'm going to go and get some painkillers. I will see you again on Thursday at the usual time, 7 a.m. Eastern, 12 p.m. noon England. Until then, be careful. There's still some headline risk. So, yeah, let's see what this week brings as we start into that summertime period, even though it's not summertime just yet. But, you know, let's see what all of this shenanigans with the new Fed chair and this deal that they're doing, whether that's actually going to be beneficial for us or whether it's just going to cause complete dry up in liquidity earlier. That's all from me. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you on Thursday. Take care. Did you know